Glasgow are the other URC teams still fighting on two fronts, and they're going to do everything to ensure that that continues. My name's Mark, let's talk rugby. Glasgow versus Munster at Scotstoun Stadium in Glasgow, Saturday the 6th of May, kickoff at 7:35 BST. We'll start with a look at the home team. In the backs, we've got Ollie Smith, Sebastian Cancellieri, Sione Tuipulotu, Stafford McDowell, Kyle Stain, Tom Jordan, and George Horn. The forwards then, Jamie Batty, Johnny Matthews, Xander Fagerson, Scott Cummings, Richie Gray, Matt Fagerson, Rory Darge, and Jack Dempsey. On the bench, Fraser Brown, Nathan Macbeth, Simon Bergen, JP Dupreez, Lewis Bean, Sione Vailanu, Ali Price, and Hugh Jones. Munster in the backs, Mike Haley, Calvin Nash, Anton Frisch, Malachi Fekatoa, Shane Daly, Jack Crowley, and Conor Murray. Forwards, Jeremy Lockman, Dermot Barnes, Stephen Archer, John Klein, Orgy Snyman, Tyke Byrne, Peter O'Mahony, and Gavin Coombs. On the bench, Niall Scannell, Josh Wycherley, Roman Salanoa, Fineen Wycherley, John Hodnett, Craig Casey, Ben Healy, and Alex Kendallen. So team news for each of the teams. Glasgow, 3 changes from the side that beat the Scarlets. Johnny Matthews in at hooker, Richie Gray into the second row. He's going to be, a big addition to the team, I think, as is Matt Fagerson into the back row as well. Rory Darge switches to 7. The backs remain unchanged from the team that won that Challenge Cup semi-final. Fraser Brown and Hugh Jones come onto the bench. They've actually got a fairly strong bench to come on as well, so it's tight. They could have a big impact, but Munster have some decent players in their reserves as well. Dupreez and Sione Vailanu drop down to the bench. Richard Gray is going to win his 100 cap for Glasgow in this one. Munster, they made 2 changes to the side that drew with the Sharks. Orgy Snyman into the second row and Tyke Byrne in at 6. So both teams really getting big boosts from players returning to the team. Peter O'Mahony moves to 7. Niall Scannell, Roman Salanoa, and John Hodnett come onto the bench. Fineen Wycherley and Alex Kendallen drop down to the bench. So again, both teams with fairly strong benches that may affect the game late on. For head-to-heads this season, they played not long ago in round 16. It was Munster 26, Glasgow 38. Warriors had the bonus point tied up by half-time. They were 31-0 up at one point in the second half. Munster did get 4 second-half tries, but couldn't pull off what would have been a famous comeback. They did actually have the momentum, but then there was a mix-up at the back and kind of killed their what was a decent comeback at that point. But still, I think it would have been a tough ask for them to come back all the way over this Glasgow team. In terms of stats for the season then, Glasgow finished 4th and Munster 5th. Attacking then, points scored 498 to 470. So Glasgow, a little bit of an edge there. A bit more of an edge in tries scored as well, 72 versus 65. Offloads 169 to 193. That kind of shows the evolution in that Munster attack, the fact that they're going for so many more offloads, especially compared to a team like Glasgow, who also like to keep up the ball alive and keep it moving. Meters gained 6,673 to 6,659. So both teams can make ground with ball in hand and fairly close in that respect. Defenders beaten 362 for Glasgow, 327 for Munster. So Glasgow a little bit better at finding those chinks in the defence. Clean breaks 120 to 89. Again, Glasgow the ones who are able to exploit the space a little bit more than Munster. But tries per break 0.6 for Glasgow and 0.73 for Munster. So Munster certainly better at converting their breaks into scores. Defence then 403 points conceded for Glasgow, 357 for Munster. Tries conceded 53 to 47, so Munster looking meaner on defence. Tackles made 2,278 for Glasgow, 2,661 for Munster. Tackle success 90% to 88. So Glasgow a little bit better on the first up tackle, but Munster, I think they're probably slightly better on the scramble. Total tackles missed then 223 to 330. So again, Glasgow, looking better in that one. Turnovers lost 216 to 220, and in this one with the players that are in both back rows, you can kind of see a lot of turnovers happening in the game. Kicking then, kicks for the posts 84 to 83. 11 penalties scored by Glasgow and 51 conversions. Munster 15 penalties and 48 conversions. So slightly more, penalties scored by them, and could be, especially towards the end, could be important to get those 3 points to either stretch away or come back into the game. Drop goals scored then, just one for Glasgow and none for Munster. But when you get to knockout stages, you generally are more likely to see the drop goals happening, because teams in tight games, if they're in position to go for it, they will. Kicks from hand then 346 for Glasgow, 380 for Munster. So Munster prefer to boot the ball a little bit more, but kicks retained 115 for Glasgow, 279 for Munster. So Munster have to be careful with that. Obviously, Glasgow are very competitive in the air, and not only retaining their own ball, but they're going to compete on the Munster kicks as well. Kick meters then 9,746 for Glasgow, 11,083 for Munster. So Glasgow not making comparatively at least that much ground from their kicks. Munster are going to want to move that back three around for Glasgow and try to exploit some space that way. In terms of then discipline, 6 yellow cards for Glasgow, 9 for Munster. Munster, they won't want to give any cards away today, because they're going to want to try and stick in there really against this Glasgow team, and a period with 14 men could be the making or breaking of the game for them. Penalties conceded then 196 for Glasgow and 189 for Munster. So Munster a little bit better in terms of staying on the right side of the referee. Scrum offences 46 for Glasgow, 49 for Munster. Line-out offences 6 to 5. In the line-out itself then, line-outs 246 for Glasgow, 203 for Munster. Line-outs lost 41 for Glasgow, 39 for Munster. Success then 86% for Glasgow and 84 for Munster. You can see Glasgow have a little bit of an edge there in the line-out. Line-out steals then 26 for Glasgow, 25 for Munster. So comparatively, Munster, being very competitive on the opposition line-out as well. So expect them to get up there and compete, especially when it's not close to their own line. Scrums then 115 for Glasgow, 79 for Munster. So Glasgow certainly winning more scrums, but in terms of the scrum efficiency, 88% for Glasgow, 91 for Munster. So Munster slight edge in terms of completion of their scrums, but scrum penalties tells a big story there. 41 for Glasgow, 13 for Munster. Munster, they can get the ball in and out on their own scrum, but not really keeping in there to try and win penalties, whereas Glasgow tend to try and do that when they've got the nudge. They did that against Munster when the two sides met in round 16, and if they get the nudge today, they're going to try and exploit that as much as they can as well. In terms of what the two camps have been saying, actually for Glasgow, we got opinion from an outside camp, which is Jamie Ritchie of Edinburgh. He was saying that Edinburgh will be backing Glasgow in this one. They're playing well, and it's great for Scottish Rugby ahead of the Rugby World Cup that they want to see the rivals doing well because that bodes well for Scotland's campaign in the Rugby World Cup. Then Glasgow head coach Franco Smith has said, Munster do not have to play knockout rugby. They've been on a strong run, and Glasgow need to be at their best to win this one. He said training has been competitive, and the entire squad are looking forward to the game. For Munster, then Dennis Leamy said last time that the two side played, that Munster were under pressure in the scrum, also under pressure up front. They're outfought by a hungrier team, and they need to correct those issues, and Munster need to show that hunger in this game if they are to get through. My opinion then, Glasgow, they beat Munster recently, so they'll feel confident because of that. Haven't lost at home since January 2022 either. I think that was La Rochelle beat them in the Champions Cup. They also came from way outside the playoffs to finish fourth, so it shows what a strong second half of the season they've had. Munster, I think a good start is going to be key to them. They've got to be tight in defence. Scrum has to function, or they really are going to be in trouble. I think Byrne and Peter O'Mahony at the breakdown will be a real threat, but you've also got Darge there as well, so it's going to be super competitive at that breakdown. Ben Healy on the bench might actually be called upon to make some crucial kicks towards the end. I think this one is going to be tighter than the game that we saw at Thomond Park. I'm going to be cheering on Munster, but I think Glasgow are going to just about shade this one.